I think there's a choice. Because the world is filled with suffering, I choose to leave. Or because the world is filled with suffering, I choose to stay. Basically, that's what it feels like it comes down to me. All the ways we leave, I distract and I wander off and I go back to sleep again and I numb it and I avoid it and I repress it and I suppress it and I deny it and I rationalize it. Right? It's easier to think about sadness than to feel sadness. That's why I said the poem is in your chest, right? It's not in your head. And Buddhism as a tradition seems to really deeply recognize, it hurts. It hurts, doesn't it? So, since it does, we have a choice. And it's a powerful choice. And to discover that we have agency is quite brilliant. It really does change our experience. Suzuki Roshi, one of the great pioneers of Zen in the West, said to a student who met with him during a very difficult long retreat, a sesshin, the student was telling him, I can't handle it, I want to go. And Suzuki Roshi is recorded as saying, you can leave, of course, but there's nowhere to go. Man, that's good. You can leave, of course, but there's nowhere to go. Those of us who have done meditation retreats, actually those of us who have done meditation, whether it's a long series or a short series, have experienced not wanting to be in the place we are at. And we think maybe that's physical, like maybe if I got up and left this retreat, if I got away from 3343 East Bade-Makaska Parkway, I would get away from this thing. This sucks. I am pissed, I am sad, my back hurts, I am confused, I am tired, the person next to me is breathing loud, and I have got to get out of here, man, right? I'm assuming I'm not alone and having this experience. And so what Suzuki is saying really, really wisely is, yeah, if you want to go, go. But you know that when you leave, you're going with you, right? You're still there. There literally is nowhere to go. In fact, the reason we come here, there, the cushion, the chair, whether we do this at home or we do it at 3343, is so that we can make the choice to figure out what is the thing that I'm trying to get away from. Maybe there's a way of making friends with that thing, or understanding it, figuring out what it is, why it keeps showing up, to investigate something deeply. Wow, that's actually why I came here. I came here for engagement. I did. I came here to feel more deeply, not less, right? I really identify with that student telling Suzuki Roshi, I want to go. I really identify with that student. I really do. That poor student is all of us, wanting to leave our lives as they are, wanting to leave the world as it is. I know we all know this feeling. You've read the news. You've been alive. You're in a body. You're dissatisfied with the world, are you not? Dissatisfaction with the world is really just dissatisfaction with the self, since all we see in the world is just a projection of self. The thing I'm upset about is a little bit different than the thing you're upset about. There's some similarity in that feeling. But dissatisfaction is just another word for judging. So what you're actually saying here is that you judge yourself as unsatisfactory, and you also project that judgment onto the world. We've just called that, in this tradition, we call that the first and second noble truth. Suffering exists, and I'm wanting it to be different. And the flavor of that is going to be ever so slightly different for all of us, because we are separate individuals, and the feeling is also exactly the same, and the trend is exactly the same, and the dynamic is exactly the same, because we are not separate individuals. Dissatisfaction with experience, dissatisfaction with self, dissatisfaction with where we imagine in the external world it's coming from. Oh man, I wish that was different. In fact, I got a recipe for you. I can tell you how you should be different. You want me to tell you how you should be different? It makes for great relationships. Just make a list of all the things that your dear friends could do to change. Dissatisfaction. So we are in good company. There are 8 billion of us on this planet right now who do that, and we do it every day. It's part of the deal. It's part of the deal. It's not a pathology, it's just a response. It's part of what we do. So that same Suzuki Roshi also said, very famously, a lot of us have heard this one, you're perfect the way that you are, and you could use some improvement. It's not a contradiction. It's an inclusively complete truth. If we want to tell the truth, we have to include both sides. You are perfect the way you are. You could use some improvement. Those are not two separate statements that contradict one another. That is one true thing. It is inclusive. Does that make sense? Boom and boom. Those are both true and are true simultaneously. And one is not 50% true. They're both 100% true. So I appreciate that your brain doesn't understand the math. I know my brain doesn't understand that math either. But if you move the discerning, knowing organ down about 12 inches, this organ understands that completely, does not have a problem with that kind of stuff. The heart's way better at doing math in a lot of ways. It just doesn't fight with the 50-50 thing and numbers making sense and adding up. Come on, man. You drive me crazy, and I love you. The heart's like, yep, sounds right. That's my experience. I don't know. So the key is the lens that we look through. When we look through the judgment, when we look through our dissatisfaction, when we look through our grasping desire, Buddhism has a lot of different words for this. We are forever dissatisfied. The world is forever dissatisfying, and I understand that. When we see through the lens of enlightenment, through the lens of unitive awareness, through the lens of love, if you wish, the world is always complete and radiant. And those two things do not contradict each other. They're both halves of an inclusive truth. I know that I am a radiant being, and you are a radiant being, and we are one radiant being, and there's no problem. There's never been a problem. How could there be a problem? Right? When we really go deep into experience, there's not a problem to be found. There just isn't. Right? Zen's not alone in this. I'm not giving you some Zen party line here. I'm talking about the insights of everybody who's ever woken up. It doesn't matter what tradition they're part of, what color their skin is, or where they're from, or what language they speak. This is the great insight. When your eyes are fully open, you just see there's not a problem. There never has been a problem. Everything is radiant. Everything is whole. It's complete. It's completed. It's perfect. And what a mess. Holy macaroni. We've got a long list of things to do. This dumpster is on fire. Wow. Can you feel that one doesn't have to leave for the other to show up? Those are two halves of the same thing. I think we need both halves so much to ventilate one another, to inform one another. Our tradition really deeply embraces both of these things. So deeply that these teachings come from this place and then this place and then both, and then this place and then this place and then both, and then this place and then... So when you're first exposed to Zen literature, whether it's poetry or sutras or Dharma talks or whatever, you go, what is going on in that place that's contradicting all of the time? Land, man, what is your deal? Do you guys even know what your thing is about? Is it all horrible or is it all wonderful? I mean, come on. Right? Worst concert ever. Best concert ever. Worst, oh, it's so, right? Until finally you're like, oh, I get it. Those are both true. I really, really get it. Isn't that nice?